Hi, my name is Charles DeFrancesco. I am the owner of The Arena. Here at The Arena, we specialize in personal training, massage, weight loss, and personal training education. Our personal training education program is recognized nationally. We work directly with NFPT, which is the certification we host on site. We also work with ACE, NASM, and NSCA. Our programs are nationally recognized so that if you work with us, it's not just a matter of being a good trainer here, you're recognized as a good trainer all over the country. Today, I'm going to interview Gina Stallone, who was certified through NFPT before her employment here. She now works for us and has been a front desk manager for the last year. Before that, she just worked at the front desk. Now, Gina's going to tell us her story. Gina?
Hi.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself. What got you into personal training?
So I've been overweight most of my life, and I worked corporate miserable jobs for the last 10 years or so, and I decided that I wanted to help people. Once I got it together, I kind of wanted to help other people get it together too. And I knew how hard it was for me, so I figured they could get some guidance from somebody who got it, somebody who's been there before.
Right, now how overweight were you? Like, just an idea, like we could talk about your weight now because you've lost it. So how much did you weigh at your heaviest?
210 pounds.
210 pounds. And how tall are you?
5'4".
5'4". And what was your lowest weight after you lost all the weight?
I'm down about 80 pounds.
Okay, excellent. So now how long have you kept that weight off?
The last almost 5 years.
So that's the biggest thing right here that we're going to talk about is not losing the weight, keeping it off is the challenge. And what we're going to talk about today is how she did that, her journey, and why her journey is like so many other people, but she didn't fail. That's the thing that we're going to focus on today. How did she do this successfully long term? So, you were overweight, started exercising. What prompted you to exercise? What was your motivation? Like, what made you decide that enough is enough? Is there like an aha moment, or did you just have enough? What was it? Were you heavy as a kid too?
I was heavy on and off most of my life.
Okay.
And you name it, I've done all the fad diets. I had different eating disorders. I mean, you name it, I've been there, I've done it. And one day, almost 5 years ago, I was watching The Biggest Loser, and I said, these people are double what I am, and they're doing it, and I'm sitting here eating snacks on the couch watching them. The next day I went to the gym. I had a membership at Planet Fitness, and I was paying for a membership that I didn't even know if it was still existing. And I went there and I asked them if it worked. Front desk person laughed at me and said, of course it does, and let me use the gym. The rest is history.
Excellent. So now, what types of exercises did you do? Like, did you follow The Biggest Loser specifically, or were there different things you added in on your own? Where did you get your information from?
I basically, because over the years, I kind of learned what, I'll do it like this, what worked, what I knew would help me lose weight was, back then, what I thought was just cardio. Like, I just would do tons and tons of cardio, and The Biggest Loser kind of showed me, there are other ways to do it. Like, they were lifting weights, they were doing different things also, and I said, well, I should incorporate different things too, so I could look better, not just do cardio, which is important, but it's not the whole thing. So I started incorporating exercises. I got my information from the internet, like a lot of people, and from Jillian Michael DVDs, and that's how I did it.
And you just followed it and kept at it. You were consistent.
Right.
So being consistent is the first part of the battle. Some of what I want to talk about is some of these things that she has done. I necessarily don't agree with, and despite her results, I'll explain why I disagree with some of the things that she had to do. Now, Biggest Loser, great for motivation, but fact is the exercises were just not appropriate for the people that were participating. Now, you might lose weight from those exercises and you might feel great in the beginning, but it's about long term. She's still sitting here. She's one of the few people who have actually kept the weight off. As we all know, most of the people on The Biggest Loser gain their weight back. And that is because they didn't change what's up here, and they didn't change their lifestyle. And I think that's where she differs a little bit from those types of people. And I give her a lot of credit from being able to do this from the couch with basically no knowledge and just kind of following what people say. But it's proof that even doing things incorrectly will still elicit great results. It's just that the norm is not such. Most people who follow these programs and do these extreme things do not keep the weight off like she has. And that's what I want to educate people on today is don't go by the results when you see all these pretty models and all these celebrity trainers. The fact is that most of these pretty models and celebrity trainers have absolutely no background in exercise science or anything even relative to that. They're just good-looking people out there selling fitness, and because they look good, most people believe that what they're doing is what makes them look that good. Kind of like the booty stuff. People do all these exercises to get big butts. That's not going to happen. If you're born with a big butt, you'll have one. If you're not, you won't. Not that you can't sculpt it, but muscles do not change. You cannot change the shape of your muscle. That's anatomy. That's basic science. So back to Gina, what I want to focus on her about is her journey after she lost the weight. What prompted her to, start to work at a gym? So tell me a little bit about that.
It was such a long journey. It's literally a lifetime of struggling with it and trying to figure it out and what works and what doesn't, and lose all the weight, gain it all back, just do it all over again. And once I finally figured it out, regardless of where the motivation came from, regardless of how maybe the incorrect exercises I was doing, I still managed to get my mind right. And I said, I want to help other people do that. So I had been working miserable corporate jobs since college. And one day I was like, I'm miserable doing this. This is not even what I went to school for. Why not just help people? That's all I really want to do. And so I started studying. I found the NFPT certification, and I studied and I got certified and started working at a franchise gym and went from there.
Now you say you work at a franchise gym. It's a big box gym like
Crunch.
Now, did you work at any other gyms, or have you ever worked out in any other gyms? Do you see how any other gyms operate, or?
Well, I worked out. I worked out at Planet Fitness since they opened. That was the cheapest local gym to where I lived in the Bronx. So that was the gym that I joined. But as I said earlier, I didn't even know if the membership was existing because I hardly ever used it. That's where I lost all my weight, though. I went there. It is what you make it. I worked at Blink Fitness for a little while, but the commute was a little crazy, so I had to stop.
Okay, and that was as a certified trainer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now, strangely enough, she was certified through NFPT. It just so happens that that's my organization that I'm the chairman of. I write all the courses for, so you can imagine the surprise when she came to apply for the job and was interviewed by the author of the book. So it was actually pretty funny. So she got the job right on the bat, not just because she was qualified, but part of it being she was certified through my organization. So I knew that at least the baseline was there for me to mold her into what I wanted to do. And the best part about hiring someone like her is she understands. She's been there. She was overweight. She fought the battle. She continues to fight the battle. And many people that are in this profession for weight loss or whatever else, they might be compassionate and understanding, but if you were never overweight, you truly cannot understand what it's like. And she'll tell you it's just not possible. And I know from experience too, because I battled with my weight, not as much as she has. When I was younger, I was just a little chubby, but I got really heavy when I was in my early 20s when I got injured after powerlifting for many years. So I get it. She really gets it. And what you want to do is take a person that's already been through it, educate them on the right way to do things so that now they can educate other people and show them the way. So Gina will tell you when she came to work here with us, she was certified, but what we call a certified trainer here is a little different than what the rest of the industry expects out of personal trainers. Now, Gina can tell you a little bit about the process here. She was a little bit resistant to it, just like everybody else, which is the purpose of us doing this interview, because many people who have lost weight doing things absolutely incorrectly swear that that was the right way to do things. And my argument to it is that when I was younger, I trained very heavy. I was a power lifter. I wanted to compete professionally. I myself did everything incorrectly. Worked out too heavy, too often, just too much of everything. And despite the incredible results I got, I destroyed my body, and I'm now paying for it at 44 years old. When I was 23 years old, I was benching 545 pounds, deadlifting over 700. These are things that most people will never attain, even professionals. And many people look to me for advice, and I would give it to them. But now, as a true fitness professional, I realized that I had absolutely no idea what I was doing back then, despite the incredible results that I got. And that's kind of why I have Gina here, because she's the other side of that spectrum. I was the musclehead, meathead. She was the overweight girl that needed to lose weight. So I think that between the two of us, we're able to help people that come in here and really understand where it is that they're coming from. So Gina, tell us when you got hired here. You started at the front desk, and tell us how you felt about our education program. And be honest, because I know it's a little bit overwhelming for a lot of people. A lot of trainers come in here and think they're just going to start training clients and not get any background education, but she'll tell you that's not the case. So talk a little bit about the education and the process and why it's a little different here and not what you expected.
Well, I didn't understand for a very long time why I was not allowed to train people, especially since I had trained many people before. I didn't understand why I couldn't train them here. What was the difference? I was certified, especially certified in your certification. I didn't understand it. I understand now in seeing who I work with and seeing the caliber of people that work here. I am nowhere near where half of these people are in terms of their knowledge base and their that's it. Their knowledge base is just amazing. Like, it's kind of, it leaves you speechless sometimes. So, I continue to try to study and get better, be better.
And she's been working at this for a while now, and she's learning. And now, why don't you talk a little bit about the things that you have learned here now that you kind of understand and have bought into it, so to speak. What was it that prevented you from buying into this, and what is it that finally convinced you that this is the right way?
I don't know if anything prevented me from buying into it. I just didn't understand, and now that I do, that's why now I'm doing it. It just took me. I'm a little hard-headed, so it took me a little while to understand. But
who isn't?
But that's really what it is.
Yeah, and listen, I was the same way. And when I learned all this functional stuff, I thought it was a joke. I was laughing at guys doing these one-arm things and everything else. But you get better with age and experience. And the thing here is most of our trainers, all of our trainers, have to go through an internship program. Even guys with bachelor degrees. I've had guys with master degrees go through the program and actually not pass. So for Gina, it's a long road for her, not only because she's the newer trainer here, but she also runs our front desk, which could be pretty busy and pretty aggravating to say the least. So for her, she has to kind of make the extra time on the side, but the plus side for her is, right, you're here and you get to see everybody doing these exercises, and you get to see it happen practically, and you get to see the results for yourself. And I think you could, agree at this point now, everything that we've showed you, we've been able to back up, which is the biggest difference, I would say, between us and everybody else. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Everything's based on science. Now, she said that she's worlds away from the people here. That's not entirely true. I've hired many trainers in my time that started out with way less knowledge than you have. So it's just a matter of being willing to learn it. I don't expect people to understand most of this stuff because it's not really out there. There's only a small percentage of trainers and educators that actually practice these types of philosophies. So, we give hats off to Gina, losing the weight, keeping it off, and not only keeping it off, going back and learning stuff that she thought she already knew, learning it again in a different way, and now being able to repurpose that information into actually doing sessions with people and helping them. When she first started, she wasn't allowed to train clients. Now she's allowed to train clients under supervision. She's qualified, but for the caliber of trainers we have here, we require such a high level, it might take her another year or so before she doesn't have a mentor over her shoulder anymore. And that's okay, because that's what we do here. So, why don't you tell them a little bit about the types of clients that come here, like the variety of things that, people see, the members, and, we have everything from weight loss to professional athletes.
Yeah, we have, the types of training, it's one end of the spectrum to the other. You have people that come in here very overweight, never worked out, or just brand new to everything, to kids that play sports, and they're young kids to professionals that just need strength and conditioning. I mean, they're all different and all different walks of life.
Yeah, so that's our focus here, is to be able to accommodate any type of client. And the way that we do that is just through our education process. Eventually, Gina will do strength and conditioning, but that is a long ways down the road, because in my experience and in my professional opinion, personal training and strength and conditioning are two completely different practices. And strength and conditioning is a much more advanced curriculum than it is to become a personal trainer. And many trainers don't really understand that, and they actually get offended when you tell them they're not strength and conditioning professionals. But that's the reason we see so many athletic injuries, because we have personal trainers training athletes, and that is a no-no in this place. Why don't we talk about what was the hardest thing for you to accept once you started working here, and all the science we've taught you, and all the things that we've gone over. Pick the hardest thing that it was for you to swallow.
Probably it's still the hardest thing for me to swallow, and the hardest thing, I don't want to accept it because I know it gave really great results, and I'm not going to lie, I still kind of do it. Not to the extent that I used to. Fasted cardio.
So fasted cardio is one of my favorite topics. I argue with trainers about this all the time. Now, she'll explain, fasted cardio helped you take a lot of weight off, correct? And it still does, so she thinks, right? Now, I know that she's made some adjustments since we've had the fasted cardio debate. I'm going to tell you why fasted cardio, in my opinion, is no good. Well, first I'm going to tell you why people think it's good. Long story short, if you do cardio in the morning, first thing when you wake up, your stomach's empty, obviously, because you've been sleeping. Now, if you go to the gym and you do fasted cardio or any fasted exercise, your body needs to burn fat to get energy. Now, there's an expense to that. For your body to tap into the fat stores and turn that fat into usable energy, it takes energy. So, for example, if I need 100 grams of energy, for my body to get 100 grams of energy from a fat store, there's going to be a fee of, let's call it 20%. So my body has to burn almost 20% more calories to turn the fat into energy, because it's an extra step. Now, the body doesn't love doing this because it's not efficient for the body. The body likes to do things in the most efficient way, the simplest, easiest way to get what it needs. Now, my argument to the fasted cardio is, yes, you will lose more weight because you're burning more calories tapping into those fat stores, but it's at the expense of burning muscle. And biology is proven, regardless of what everybody out there says and wants to argue about, biology is proven that protein does not live in the body for more than 4 to 6 hours, and we do not produce complete proteins. There are 9 essential amino acids that the body does not produce, so we have to take them in our diet. So in my opinion, doing fasted cardio and not taking in these proteins, your body, biology, is going to eat muscle away to get the amino acids it needs for brain function, cellular function, etc. So my remedy to fasted cardio is stay on an empty stomach, but have maybe 10 grams of really light protein. And she argues all the time with me about it, but I know that she started doing that to some degree. And now her issue is that she has stomach problems. So when you have a stomach issue, you have to make adjustments. But generally speaking, if somebody wants to continue to burn fat for energy, doing fasted cardio because they enjoy it, simply all you have to do is add 10 grams of protein before the workout. Half hour to an hour, an hour would be ideal, but whatever you got to do is better than nothing. Now, you're not going to have stomach problems because you're not going to eat a sandwich, you're not going to drink a full protein shake. What I tell people they should do is maybe have like 2 egg whites, and they have pasteurized egg whites you could buy. There's an egg company that makes them, but there's also powdered eggs. There's types of very light protein that you could take in that aren't going to bother you if you don't have any allergies. Now, what that does is it preserves the muscle mass while you burn all the fat, so that now you get the best of both worlds. Because the problem with fasted cardio is if you burn muscle, long term that slows your metabolism down. The way I tell people to do it is having that little bit of protein maintains that muscle mass, allows you to burn from the fat stores, But now long term, you're gonna burn more calories because you're not slowing your metabolism down by burning muscle. So that's my argument to that. So that's the biggest thing that she has an issue with. Now, if she didn't have stomach problems, it'd be a little bit easier for her. But having the stomach issues does throw a wrench into the operation a little bit, because when you wake up in the morning, your body doesn't really want to digest anything. So that's where sometimes individual things come into play, and then we'd have to figure out something specific to her, which we're not going to go into today. But generally speaking, that's why I disagree with fasted cardio. Then we could go over some of the exercises that you like to do before you got here. Now, let's start off with when we talk about your injuries. So now, before we even start there, what injuries did you have before, when you were overweight, before you started exercising? Did you have any injuries?
So my back has been an issue since I was little. I fell and never really got it looked at when I was little on rollerblades, and it would always nag at me through the years, but I never got it looked at. It was never an official injury. Like, I never got it actually checked out. So
Right.
It was an injury, but it was never anything diagnosed or anything like
Right.
that.
So it just
That was the most major
something
thing
that
I
you
would
did
say.
as a kid. Like,
Yeah.
how, you were a kid rollerblading?
Mhm.
Okay. Any other injuries other than the rollerblading incident?
Not anything major.
So you had
Wear
really
and
no
tear.
orthopedic injuries.
Not really.
So now, what I'm going to argue about, and we're going to go back to The Biggest Loser. Now, again, I'm going to tell you, The Biggest Loser motivational, hats off. Content of exercises, failure. She did all of these exercises. Now, not all of them are bad, so I shouldn't say that, but there are enough of them to be bad to cause some physical injuries. And we have some evidence right here, because as she just stated, she didn't have any of these injuries when she was younger. Did a lot of cardio, and then you started watching The Biggest Loser, you started weight training, correct? So you started following what they were doing. So now why don't you tell us some of the injuries you have?
Well, I mean, still not diagnosed, but my back has gotten significantly worse. And I had shoulder surgery last October.
Okay.
I had a torn labrum, and part of my rotator cuff was frayed.
All right. Any other injuries? Neck, ankles, anything else?
No, I was a very clumsy child. I used to sprain my ankles a lot. My knees used to, my knee kind of is a little off,
But nothing major. Now, you did a lot of core training with this Biggest Loser, right?
Mhm.
All that. So now what types of core training were you doing? So why don't you tell me about the exercises?
Like everybody else, I lived for sit-up. So sit-ups were the be-all, end-all. I could, even to this day, I could get on the floor and I could probably bang out 100 without even blinking. And I would put a weight over my head and do it. I'd put a ball over my head and do it. I would, every type of sit-up, bicycle crunches, leg lifts, reverse crunches, which are amazing for your lower back. Or not.
Reverse crunch done the right way can have some
And a-
benefit, but it's really got to be
And a
done
rush,
the right way.
and the best of all, the Russian twist.
Yeah, that's a fan favorite.
That's a fan favorite. Yeah.
So now that's your core exercise. Now, what about like your shoulder exercise? What type of stuff did you
And
do?
this I didn't get. Now I'm gonna be honest. I kind of would Google things that I saw on Instagram, and I would see these people do these competitions, and I wanted to look great like they did. So I started training crazy with no knowledge of how to do that, other than like bodybuilding.com and wherever I could find muscle stuff. And I started doing I started doing obstacle course races, so mud Spartan races, the wipeout race, all of that. And so I needed to train. I need to train upper body, and I've always had a really weak upper body. So I was the kid that could never go across the monkey bars. I was always the kid that had their parents had to hold them across.
Right.
So I started training doing pull-ups. I didn't get that from The Biggest Loser, but I was doing an insane amount of I was doing 100 pull-ups 3 times a week. It was on the assisted machine, but at least a quarter to half of those were my own.
So
3 times a week.
So this is a prime example of somebody whose mind and heart is in the right place, but their knowledge of exercise has been tainted by the garbage that is spewed by my industry that embarrasses me on a regular basis. So someone like her wanted to do the right thing, tried to educate herself by following so-called fitness professionals, and now has ended up shoulder surgery, back pain worse than ever. Core strength isn't as great as she would think it would be for all the core exercise she did, because the core exercises that she did have no relation to the function that she needs to perform on a daily
They
basis.
also don't give you abs. They don't give you the abs that you think they're going to give you.
The abs are made in the kitchen.
Yes, they are.
That's a fact.
They're 100% made.
Now, you have to do exercises for your abs, and I don't have a problem with some traditional exercises. What I have an issue with is trainers just giving people exercises as a general thing. I'm not a very big fan of sit-ups. Stuart McGill has proven why sit-ups are not great for your spine. But that being said, there is a place for sit-ups in certain routines for certain reasons. If I have someone who's a wrestler, an MMA fighter, I need to do sit-ups with them. But now it's not about the sit-up, it's about how I do it, if I do it correctly, do they have any back problems, and are they strong enough in the other parts of their spine and hips and trunk to be able to bear that load on their back. So there are specific circumstances where you do these exercises. I would argue that a sit-up is actually an advanced movement that should only be prescribed by an advanced level trainer in specific scenarios. Now, does that make sense to you, knowing what you know now? That makes more sense now. Like, why would you have somebody who's a beginner shearing the heck out of their spine? It just doesn't make any sense. Now, the argument I have to leg raises, it's hip flexors. It's hip flexors. You're using your hip flexors, and they'll tell you you're using your lower abs. You have one rectus abdominis, it's one muscle. While there might be fibers upper and lower, leg raises are not hitting the lower part of your abs. They're just creating a static contraction because it's isometric, because you have to keep yourself still while you're flexing your hips. In order to really target the abs, if you want them to contract, you have to do some kind of crunch. Stuart McGill has a McGill crunch. Crunches on the ball, if someone doesn't have a back problem, I don't have an issue with. Again, there are circumstances where things are appropriate for a certain population. But the issue is that everything's mainstream. You have these celebrity trainers giving out garbage to people, and people are getting hurt. So someone like her, who's on this weight loss journey, doing fantastic, has multiple injuries because she was given exercises that she shouldn't have been doing. Now, that is a good example of why people gain their weight back. Now, think about that. Someone that doesn't have as much mental perseverance as you isn't going to work out through the injuries. They're going to give up.
Well,
right? Now, think about
that. I
that.
can talk to that because I didn't really work out during the injuries, but any time in my life I've ever been sick or I ever had anything, I would always find myself, even if I was doing really well and on a good track, I'd always put the weight back on. So I did gain a little bit of weight, but I think it was more that I just lost most of my muscle once I had the surgery. And I looked a lot bigger than I even was, but it's still, I just wanted to get back to it. Like even now I get discouraged when I can't do the things that I used to do, and I have to remember to do all my rehab stuff, but it's a process.
But now, the thing is, that being said, you're not able to work out as hard and do as much as you used to, but let's put it this way, you still have the weight off. Mm-hmm. So wouldn't you agree that less is more sometimes? Yeah. Doing things the right way, efficiently. I
can lift my arm up, I couldn't do that a year ago.
Exactly. So going to the gym, working out like a fiend and a lunatic, while people might think that's what's going to make you look great, yeah, if you don't fall apart, it's going to make you look great because you're going to lose weight, but if you work out the right way, you'll still achieve that physique, but it'll be more long-term. You won't have to get through all these injuries. Just think how much harder you could work out now if you didn't have all those injuries knowing what you know now. Right? Like Gina mentioned she wants to learn plyometrics. We want to teach her plyometrics, but there's a lot of injuries we got to fix first because of all the damage done by her training programs before. And I'm not even talking about as a certified trainer, I'm talking about before for yourself. What's great about Gina is once she started here and started seeing how everything was working, I don't catch her doing exercises with clients that she's not supposed to. Because
I don't do them for myself anymore.
She doesn't do them for herself either anymore, and that's important because I think what people out there need to understand is that you don't need to be a lunatic and work out like crazy, and in most cases, if you do that, you're going to put the weight back on because it's not a sustainable life. You know what I mean? For example, when people tell me they go on these no-carb diets at all, like, you're getting your weight back. I can tell you that 90% of the time. It's not going to happen.
So many fad diets, and all it does is make you rebound. I preach it all the time. I preach it to friends, family, clients. The fastest way to gain your weight back is to do any type of elimination diet or do any type of crazy exercise regimen that you're never going to stick with. You have to make it work for you at the end of the day. And if you are not going to you can't live in the gym, don't set a routine around that because it's not going to work.
Right, and the thing is with these diets now, while I believe that all these diets out there, we have the South Beach diet, the paleo diet, I believe they have value, and the paleo diet's probably one that you could live by more reasonably than some of the other ones, but I would also argue that when you get to a certain point where you have your weight off, it's not a bad thing to add carbs in at certain times of the day. In fact, having carbs in the morning and maybe after you work out is going to actually help your performance in the gym, and that's just a fact. I mean, you could tell it from yourself, and I mean, even me, when I used to train hard, I know that I've tried, I'm like you, I've tried every diet. I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum. I was trying to gain as much muscle mass as possible. I wanted to be heavy, I didn't want to be lean. I wanted to be big and strong, and that's why I ate 7,000 to 8,000 calories a day, which is crazy. But I worked out 2 to 3 hours.
I was like 1,000 to 1,200 because
So,
that's what I read. It was a good.
And that's what you read.
That's crazy.
Well, that slows your metabolism down long term.
It's currently broken, I think.
So, and these are the types of things people say. Well, how did I get adrenal stress? How did I screw up my cortisol? How did I, why can't I sleep? All of this stuff is related to your diet, your lifestyle. And nobody's perfect. I still have issues with my weight because I like to eat. I used to be a powerlifter, and I'm not anymore because my joints too have fallen apart. I had shoulder surgery, I have neck problems, back problems, my other shoulders are wrecked, all because I did all the weight training that Arnold Schwarzenegger and all these guys in their time prescribed. Now I can't blame them because at the time they were basing it off the same information that was available to everybody, and they looked great and did the right thing. But let's not forget, when you see these people, looking great and everything else, so I want to look like them, there's drugs involved more than half the time. And people don't want to believe that, but that's a fact. I mean, just look at sports and everything else. It's just the reality, and it's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. So people are trying to attain a look that almost doesn't exist because most of these celebrities you see on TV, Facebook, or wherever else, they're airbrushed, they're steroids, they're weight loss drugs. There's all kinds of things that you don't know behind the scenes that are an issue. Right? And then once you get into the industry, you kind of learn the science, and you're like, wow, now I know how false that stuff was.
Get me started on fat burners.
Yeah, so I'm sure you did fat. I did fat burners. Back in my day, it used to be Stacker.
I took Stacker.
I had the
Stacker
real
too.
Stacker. The real Stacker, they made illegal before. You're too young to have the real Stacker.
I had Stacker 2s.
The real Stacker was bad.
It
worked great,
Stacker
but it was
2s
bad.
were not great either. And then there was a random other. When I was in the process of trying to train like these bodybuilder competition people, I went into like it wasn't even like a big name vitamin. It wasn't Vitamin Shop. It was like a big name supplement store or small. I'm sorry, small.
It's like
supplement.
I know exactly which one you're talking about. It was like a Stacker.
And I don't know what it was
but
called, but they were like, "This is what all the bodybuilders use," and I was like, "All right." And
I can picture the bottle right now. It was a big white bottle. It had like a red kind of thing on top. I can't remember the name of it.
I don't.
Something shred or something.
It didn't work. And to what I know, to make myself the leanest that I've ever been was when I ate super clean. Like that's the only time in my life I've seen abs. It lasted maybe a day. I appreciate a beer and I appreciate some food, and quite honestly, you're not gonna, if you want that, you can't have both. So unless you're genetically inclined to have abs, you can't have both.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And you could work out more to burn off more calories. And when you say eat clean, some people don't understand, what does eat clean mean? Well, it's not really a medical term, but eating clean is basically eating things that were picked or killed and had nothing to do with man. Because anything man-made is going to be bad for you. Chances are, if man made the sun, it would never rise and set at the same time of day. And I think you would agree with that. So, I think that wraps up what we were talking about today. And, Gina was a great guest today. And I hope that you people out there watching this, and maybe we're in Gina's position, can, relate to her and maybe take some information from us and maybe avoid the injuries that both of us have had and the pitfalls and shortcomings. Gina's available for evaluations and at the gym from early in the morning, unlike myself. So the number of the gym is 914-694-4841. We're located at 1133 Westchester Avenue in the main lobby of the corporate park at 1133 Westchester Avenue. Thank you.